Welcome to Pep Talks with Jeanne. I'm your host, Jeanne Pepper. I started doing Pep Talks as a way to inspire you to do intentional acts of kindness and to further the goals of #BlazeItForward. Since its inception, Pep Talks has evolved, and now I use it to interview people actively making a difference in this world through their volunteerism, community service, or careers. My guests are all here because they have dedicated their lives to making this world a better place. Join us as we delve into the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of these truly inspiring and hardworking people. This season, we will be using a panel format in some of our episodes to bring together synergistic guests to discuss topics that weave the social fabric of the world around us. Welcome to another episode of Pep Talks with Jeanne. And today, we have back in our studio, Adrienne Matros. Welcome.
Thank you, Jeanne. I'm so happy to be here again.
And why are you here again? Because you know a lot about a lot. As opposed to me, who knows a lot about a little, or a little about a lot. There we go. So Adrienne, actually, we never really got to talk about the philanthropy that she does. And it's quite astounding. I think I remember you telling me, or maybe it was your husband, Rick, that you only participate in philanthropy at foundations that you can be actively involved in, like on the board. So generally speaking, you've been on the boards of many of these organizations, or you still are, and it's probably too many to count. You were the Philanthropist of the Year in 2018, which was kind of a big deal.
It was, and it only fueled the fire in terms of doing more and being more. Like a lot of pressure internally, I'll say, that I needed to, I don't want to say that I wasn't worthy of it, but I was quite overwhelmed, and I think I spread my wings a little bit further after that.
Well, I know that I can't keep up with everything that you do, because every time I try to schedule something with you, we have to schedule between 2 Zoom calls or a committee meeting or a fundraiser. So, but hats off to you, because most people do not stay that busy doing things that are good for other people. So that's something to be proud of. Originally, we had thought that we would have Chris Simonson from Orangewood Foundation here today to talk about the amazing things that he does. Well, Adrienne's also been very involved with that organization. You're currently on the 44 Women's Group. Is that the name of it?
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
44 Women was started by Susan Samueli, who wanted to gather a group of women together to provide support for Orangewood. And I would say it was a grassroots effort, and it's grown over the years. And she hosts different fundraisers, and they have luncheons, and it's all connected to Orangewood and providing support for them. So it's a wonderful group of women. I enjoy being in the 44 Women group, and it comes full circle for me by being involved in 44 Women. I said, well, my primary focus is children, teens and mental health, but knowing that 44 Women provides support to Orangewood for all of them to have the services necessary, from children to young adults. It's an incredible organization, and I can't say enough about Chris Simonson and Orangewood. So I can't wait till you have him on and he can share with you all the wonderful details of Orangewood.
Yeah, we're looking forward to having him as well. Orangewood is particularly special to Gideon and myself, because when Blaze disappeared, we thought that they would be able to do something special for children if we asked our friends to donate money to them. And we did. We got our friends to donate $25,000 in 24 hours, which was very unexpected. And they were so delighted to get that funding so unexpectedly. So it just shows that really good things can come out of terrible things. But another thing is that we just want to help kids. I think you and I both are aligned with that. We want to help people that don't have a voice. And oftentimes children don't have a voice, or they have one, but nobody's listening. So we're here to make sure that people start listening. You're also involved in an organization that I am becoming more involved in called Tilly's Life Center. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Tilly Levine had been volunteering, and she shares her story. She had been volunteering, I believe it was Boys Club, and she was doing activities with them and giving them backpacks and things like that. And she realized that she wasn't having an impact on those children's lives. And she saw, she kind of had, I'll say an epiphany that she wanted to do more and be more. And she created this program, and it's social emotional learning skills. It evolved out of her experience working and volunteering at Boys Club, volunteering, not working. And Tilly Levine is of Tilly's Clothing Company that was started many years ago when she immigrated from Israel with Hezi Shaked, and they created Tilly's Clothing Company. So while still working at Tilly's Clothing Company, she created Tilly's Life Center to provide those skills, those social emotional learning skills to, originally it was piloted at Children's Hospital, Orange County. It was hugely successful, and then with high-risk youth. And it's grown to be a program that I believe strongly in, that every student should participate in Tilly's Life Center programming, the SEL programming, and it's called I Am Me. And I tell the story often, and hopefully you'll have Tilly on in the near future. But I tell the story of Tilly came to me as someone had given her my name, and she wanted to meet with me, and she showed me the program. And she said, well, what do you think about it? And I said, I'm in. Whatever you need me to do, I'm in. And she said, would you be on the board? And I said, of course I'd be on the board. I'll do anything. And after looking at the program, it's so simple, yet so impactful. I said, well, I like this program so much. I want to learn more about it. I want to become a facilitator. So they go into schools, into classrooms, and there's 2 facilitators. So you say co-facilitators. I went through the training to become a co-facilitator. And having gone through the program, I believe it was 10 years ago. I don't know, I was in my 50s, in my mid-50s. And it was life-changing for me, especially the I am forgiving part. And I've shared this story before, and I said, well, I don't have anybody I need to forgive. This, I don't know. I tend to pick the most challenging part of whatever it is to challenge myself. And after having gone through the program as a facilitator, to train to become a facilitator, it was life-changing for me. And I said right then and there, I said, if it's life-changing for me, this professional, I'm a psychologist, I'm established, this and that, I have a great life, then who knows what it can do for young people. And it was from then on, and I became a co-facilitator, and I was a co-facilitator at Samueli Academy, and it originally was with high-risk youth who were challenged academically, maybe some behavioral issues, and it was so successful that eventually Samueli Academy implemented the program for every grade. So now it's 7th through 12th grade, and they have Tilly's program, the TLC program in the school. All students participate in it, not those that are just at high risk. So it's a hugely successful program, and it's in many, many schools in Orange County, high schools, private schools, and it's growing. It's an incredible program. So,
is it offered free of charge to schools?
Depending on the school, but there is a charge. It costs approximately $300 per student to participate in the program.
Per year?
That's what the costs are.
Is
it
for
the program? So
it's a 1-year program.
2 phases, 3. Yeah, there are currently 3 phases of the program.
And that covers the entire program?
I'll say for a year.
For
it covers
1 year.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. And do the students, can you kind of summarize a little bit like what kind of skills they're learning? Are they learning to trust their own intuition? That was kind of what I took away from the meeting I went to, which is important because a lot of people don't listen to that voice.
Right, to develop inner strength, because we have so much coming at young people have so much coming at them, negativity. It's to learn to be productive and believing in oneself and learning the skills necessary to navigate today's environment.
Is there anything like that for young people to have access to that don't go to one of these schools?
There are several social and emotional learning programs out there in this country. I've seen several others. I believe this is the best. And the challenge is Tilley's Life Center will do workshops and train teachers to be facilitators. There's just not enough opportunities for everybody to have access. Anyone could go on Tilley's Life Center on the website and see what availability there is to participate in a workshop.
Oh, in a workshop. And that's to become a facilitator.
Oh, no, to participate as a youth.
Oh, that's fantastic. Do they have any programs for adults that need this kind of training?
Training?
Yes. I mean, for adults, not just to become facilitators, but to be facilitated.
To participate in the program, yes.
Yeah.
I'm a huge advocate. I think for those, I would say, victims of human trafficking, sex trafficking, this is an incredible program that could be so beneficial.
And
for anybody.
Yeah.
For anybody.
And the best way to get your hands on it if you're not a high school student is through their workshops that they offer occasionally.
Yes.
Okay, so you need to get on their website, the TilleysLifeCenter.com website to learn more. Is it .com or .org?
I don't.
Well, you know what? We're going to have our producer put the place where you're supposed to go right there in the show. So if you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see it. So yeah, I just recently became involved in a women's program that Tilley's Life Center made available to me. And it allows me to participate with other women that want to grow this organization, to raise money, to raise awareness, and to make friends. And I'm really excited about that. That's the great thing about philanthropy is you get to be around really good people, usually.
I'm so glad you feel that way.
Yeah, I mean,
any opportunity to be around you, Jeanne, is
you're the best.
An open door for me.
He's my biggest fan. What can I say? Okay, so was Tilley's Life Center one of the last things you did, or you've been doing stuff for years. This is just one of many things, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Has there been anything more recent that you've been a part of to grow, to begin, and to start?
Oh, you're putting pressure.
I know. Let's talk about CHOC, because I know you had a lot to do with implementing the Advocacy Committee for Young People's Mental Health. How did that happen? And can you tell us a little bit about CHOC and what kinds of who they service?
Sure. So as a licensed clinical psychologist, when I was doing my training, I lived in Los Angeles, and I had an internship at Children's Hospital LA, and I was offered an internship in Orange County at CHOC, and I looked into it, and there were not enough psychologists. It didn't seem that mental health was a priority for Children's Hospital Orange County. And this is a long time ago. This is in the early 90s. And I did not take an internship there because I didn't think that there would be an opportunity to really improve my skills or really to make a difference. And then in 2000, we moved to Orange County from Los Angeles, and I was no longer working at Children's Hospital Los Angeles. And about 5 years later, I was serving on a board of another organization, and I met someone who worked at CHOC, and they invited me to their very first gala, and I went to it, and I always remembered that CHOC wasn't a place where I wanted to have a practice or to work as a psychologist, because I didn't think that they provided enough mental health services for the children that were there. And it came to be that in 2015, I was asked to create and chair a mental health advocacy committee. And I met with many staff from CHOC and community members, and with Kim Kripe and the urging of Kay Warren and family, Kay and Rick Warren, and the Archbishop of Orange County, of the Diocese of Orange County, and Sandy Segerstrom-Daniels, a number of community members really shined a light on the lack of mental health services in Orange County for children. And with that, Kim Kripe made a commitment. I get emotional about it. Kim Kripe made a commitment there that CHOC was going to be a leading provider of mental health services for children, that mental health was equally as important as physical health. And in 2018, in April of 2018, CHOC opened the very first inpatient children's unit for children under 12. I mean, it can go up to 17, but it's the first in Orange County and only one of 3 in the whole state that take children under 12 years of age. So CHOC is an outstanding organization in terms of how they treat mental health, and their tagline is mental health is equally as important as physical health. You can't have one without the other. And there's an 18-bed inpatient unit at CHOC now, and they have treated children as young as 3 years of age.
And this is mental health. So are we talking about when you need to be an inpatient? Is that because your life is in danger?
Yes.
So a 3-year-old could be endangering their own life because of their mental health?
Yes.
How long do people or do children typically stay in a unit like that?
I believe the average is 2.8 days. I could be wrong on that. So
Just until they're stabilized?
Yes. And CHOC has created an entire community of support services. So there's intensive outpatient programs. There's emergency crisis on site to work with those children. And also CHOC has the Thompson Center for Autism now.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it is very interesting. And I can't tell you, I'm so proud of being involved with CHOC and everything that they've done. And it's truly a shining star in Orange County that CHOC recognizes the importance of working with children, and not just physically but mentally also, and providing those services that if you look at it in the way it's been posed in the past, and Dr. Heather Husty posed this. I remember in the very beginning we talked about you could fill Angel Stadium 3 times with children in Orange County that need mental health services. Only 1 stadium full will ever receive treatment.
Wow.
Right.
And we wonder why there are school shootings.
1 in 5 children nationwide will have a diagnosable mental health condition by the age of 14.
Well, that makes sense because probably half of the adult population has a mental health problem. So
right. And if we don't start treating children, we'll never
going to fix this problem.
No.
Well, you're starting something here with CHOC. How hard is it to get your kid into CHOC if you find yourself needing that kind of help for your kid?
It's very challenging because there's a long waiting list. There's unfortunately, in the emergency department, they do have a place where children that are in danger of hurting themselves can be addressed and taken to. It's 18 beds. So CHOC recognized early on that if CHOC had a 300-bed facility, it would probably be full all of the time. And what's crucial to do is be out in the community and do preventative work. So CHOC is in the schools. They have an outpatient treatment program. And if you are able to work with children younger and younger and have those programs in schools, then we will be able to treat the children that are services are needed for, as opposed to waiting to come when they're in crisis in the emergency department and need a bed to stabilize them.
What's your thought on why mental health services are so evidently missing now for these kids, and why it didn't seem to be an issue when I was growing up, maybe when you were growing up? Was it an issue that was just not recognized?
Well, there are a number of contributing factors. I can just say the pandemic. Based on the pandemic, it only exacerbated all of the mental health issues that children were having, that young people were having, and still exist today. Mental health has not been a priority in this country for children until recently.
Well,
I don't know if it's a priority yet, but it's more on the horizon, and it's on everyone's radar.
Yeah.
Suicide rates have soared, and I'll say post-pandemic, everything has increased in terms of anxiety and depression, and children are suffering. There are a number of reasons, and we can, or not talk about it, but we talk about social media, we talk about bullying, and everything inherent in that. And it's very challenging for young people these days.
So there's a lot of social pressure on kids today, perhaps exacerbating these issues. I mean, I know that the LGBTQ AI plus community, at least when I was growing up, I wasn't aware that there was a community. I thought it was just a random thing that some people had to deal with. I was growing up in the 80s as a teenager, and AIDS had just come onto the scene as I was entering high school, and everybody was afraid. This was, probably contributing to maybe a lot of the societal things that happened in that time period, such as people became very afraid of that community. And people, I think that we were slowly probably getting more and more developed in terms of our understanding of the community and acceptance. But then when this came along, I think it really impacted my generation and how we dealt with it and how we felt about it, sadly, because I ended up having a child that was part of this community and really didn't know much about it because it hadn't come on my radar before that time. Even having a friend from law school that came out to me, it didn't really faze me when he told me that he was gay. It wasn't something I really thought, oh, there must be a lot, it must be difficult. It must be very challenging for you. It didn't really seem like it should be an issue, but because I was not aware of how dangerous it could be for these people to even exist in our society. And of course, then having a child that was in this community, there was a lot of learning that I had to do about this. But yeah, I found that I don't know about what you've seen in young people that are LGBTQ, but I think that it caused a lot of the emotional distress and that Blaze felt probably growing up. I think a lot of it stemmed from that, from not feeling understood, from not feeling like he had other people, camaraderie. I think when he went to OSHA, it got better. But yeah, I think he was bullied a lot because of it as well. How is that being dealt with by these organizations? Are they identifying these children and trying to give them help ahead of time?
Well, I'll say, unfortunately, there still is a stigma. And one of my reasons that I wanted to work with CHOC and create this advocacy committee was to reduce the stigma around mental health, period, to make it more acceptable. We all know someone who's been touched by someone having a mental health issue, whatever it is. And then when you add the marginalized populations into it, again, I don't want to keep using that word, but it's only exacerbated because marginalized populations, including the LGBTQ community, are that much more ostracized from it. And the rates of having a mental health issue being in a marginalized community is, I'll say, upwards of 50%. So when the other challenge is that it's politicized, unfortunately. And in the past, I think when you were growing up, when I was growing up, it wasn't on our radar. It wasn't talked about. Unfortunately, now it is talked about, and it's I'll say much more socially acceptable in general to be of a marginalized population. But because of it being politicized, it makes it that much more challenging. And it's really, I don't want to say two-pronged, but it's really, it's very difficult to process it because we say, wait a minute, we accept gays in our community, and you have extremes in any religion, extremes in any political side that are anti.
Yeah.
Anti. And I can't imagine what it's like to be, I can a little bit, but from a marginalized population, just as a teen, trying to survive.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. I mean, this is not the only problem that these kids have to contend with. They have to contend with all the normal things that teenagers deal with, like drugs and bullying and social media.
Of course. And we can say, we're
challenge.
So accepting now of someone from the LGBTQ plus community. But are we really that accepting of it? And
I question whether we are. I think that some parts of the population are. And I mean, it's really evident to me when I'm looking at the hashtag Blaze It Forward Facebook group. And we've had a lot of new members since we were on the 48 Hours season premiere. We've had quite a few people coming to check out the public group. And a lot of the people that are commenting are people that were very upset to hear about what happened to Blaze. Not only because they're empathetic people, but because they know somebody who is gay, who struggled. And it's usually a young person. It's usually their child or their grandchild. And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking for me as a parent to see these people struggling so much with something that they cannot control. And it's also very heartwarming to see how much love there is for out there for this community as well, because there was even one person who said that one of the most rewarding things that they had done recently was going to a gay pride parade just to give hugs to people that needed them. And this is not someone that had a child that was LGBTQ. They just went there to help. And they said it was very rewarding, and it was an amazing day. So I think that there's a lot of work that we have to do for that community. And I'm sure at some point we're going to get the LGBTQ Center of Orange County here to talk about the mental health services that they are offering. And I know Radiant Healthcare is offering services here in Orange County. And I don't know what's going on in the rest of the world. What's happening in your neighborhood? What are you doing about this problem where you live? I'd like to know. But yeah, there's things are changing. I hope for the best.
In a positive direction.
I think so. I think things are getting better. And maybe because parents like me and my husband are coming out and making this something more accessible and something that we can talk about, that we can, watch something on television now, a story about a family that went through this horrific tragedy like what we went through, and make it something that you discuss with your kids. The coming out. I mean, we had issues with, Blaze not wanting to come out because he was embarrassed, ashamed, afraid, 1,000 reasons why, kids don't want to acknowledge their sexuality. And we respected that and let him do it at his own time and in his own pace. And that was just intuitive to us that, we can't force this thing. We just have to give him space to figure it out. And I hope that parents hearing this understand the importance of that even if you suspect it, there's really nothing you can do until your child is ready to say something to you. And when that happens, you've really got to provide them a very safe space to be who they are and what they will become. There's nothing more you can do. And if you don't do that, you risk these mental health issues that come along with these kids being ashamed and afraid. Is at some point they have to learn how to be comfortable in their own skin, just like we all had to at some point. But yeah, how does Tilley's Life Center deal with these issues? Do they see this as an issue in the high schools that they go to or the schools they're at?
Well, I'd like to say that in the program, regardless of how you identify, that they provide the skills for anyone who participates in the program. If they're in a wheelchair, if they're a person of color, if they're whatever it is.
This can help anyone.
Whatever it is. It can help everyone who participates in the program.
Yeah. And that's what we need. We need more programs that can help kids make better decisions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I see that even like in my adult friends that didn't make those decisions right when they were teenagers, when that's, nobody expects you to make the right decisions when you're a teenager, but we need to help kids make those decisions. We can't just expect every kid to get good grades, to take the right challenging classes in high school and think about a future. We can't make it happen.
Our brains are not developed 28, approximately at 28 years of age.
Yeah. In my case, probably a lot later even.
In my case, maybe it hasn't happened yet.
I'm still waiting for that development. So after you started this advocacy committee, are they still around, or is the committee dispersed now that you've got the mental health care?
We still have a committee.
What are you talking about?
And I would say a goal of mine, I mean, it's been many years, and I'll say pre-pandemic, that a goal of mine is that for Mental Health Awareness Month of May, that all the stores at South Coast Plaza and all the stores at Fashion Island and all those, any store would proudly have lime green in there, reducing the stigma that it's okay to not be okay, raising awareness about mental health.
Yeah, we've got to do something.
Advocacy, we can write letters to Congress, to, the state and different funders and organizations, governmental organizations, requesting that we have more money for mental health services. It's a whole supply chain issue. We don't have enough providers. We don't have enough education specifically for children in terms of professionals that want to work in the field. But I can say that we're working on it, that CHOC has done a great job. They have a number of interns that can provide additional services, especially in co-occurring clinics where we have someone who also has a health condition and is at higher risk for having a mental health issue, cystic fibrosis, diabetes.
Yeah.
A whole host of.
Absolutely. And there's probably plenty of kids that are in CHOC that are very ill, terminally ill, that need those services also. Or,
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I just forget about them.
I say I'm still always an advocate. That's, I think, my title, I say, is a mental health advocate.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a human advocate. If you're human, I'm going to advocate for you.
Children.
Just be a good human.
Yes.
Tell us about the Samueli organization. You've talked a lot about Susan Samueli. Maybe we'll be lucky enough to get her here someday. She is one of the preeminent philanthropists in Orange County, along with Adrienne and her husband, Rick. But I think that she has done more for kids as a single person probably than anybody else. Would you agree?
I would agree with you.
I think she's done most in this county at any rate.
Yes.
In this county.
Yes.
One of the things that she and her husband did were to create a residential program for students living in difficult home situations or challenging custody situations. And these are kids that typically would live in like Santa Ana, I'm imagining, or Orange or...
Samueli Academy was created with that in mind, that it's a school and it's a public charter school, a school that, and you should have Susan on your program.
Yeah, we really
just
should
have to ask her, and she'd be happy to share. But her vision, and I don't want to speak for her, but from what I understand, is her vision was to create a school for foster youth and for children in the community of Santa Ana who are a marginalized population. They don't necessarily have the best services in terms of health, in terms of education. Not to put any of the schools down in Santa Ana, but Susan had a vision with Sandy Jackson to create a school where foster youth could live.
Yeah. Is it the only one of its kind, or are there other ones like this?
Yes, there may be one other. I don't know if it's in the state of California, but one other. This is a very unique model.
Yeah.
Where foster youth, if you know about foster youth, they when they're put into Orangewood, basically we'll talk about Orange County, when they're put into Orangewood for whatever reason, they become foster youth, and the goal is for foster youth to live with families in the community. Many times foster youth get moved around a lot, especially if they have siblings and there's one, two, three of them. They get moved around and then they change schools. I mean, you talk to any foster youth and they'll tell you they've changed schools, 5, 10 times. And the goal was to create a stable school for children that are in the foster care system. So in Samueli Academy, they live there Monday through Friday, and they go home to a foster family or a schoolmate's family on the weekends and holidays and things like that. So they are not moved around. They're able to stay there in that school, 7th through 12th grade.
It's really brilliant. I don't understand how we don't have that everywhere.
They have 100% graduation rate of foster.
That is phenomenal. That is really
phenomenal.
That is really something. These kids, do they have mental health services offered to them at school if they need it? Yeah.
Yes, they do. So they live there on campus. It's a residential.
Do you have to live there if you go there? So some of the kids don't live there. They might be in the neighborhood.
Or the majority. No, they're not all foster youth. It's probably, I don't want to give the percent, but maybe it's 10% are foster youth. And then of that percent, several of them live there. If I remember correctly, I don't want to say how many foster youth can live there at any given time. It probably matters on gender and age and things like that, but it's a residential facility on campus. Samueli Academy. So
it's really
and I know she got that vision because of Orangewood, and having seen foster youth be moved around and not having a stable environment.
Yeah, it is heartbreaking. And there's so many of the organizations here in Orange County that are here to help those kids, and still they fall through the cracks.
Absolutely.
I know that in talking to Chris previously, very small number of these kids go to college, at least the ones that go through Orangewood. I don't know about Samueli, but kids that just go through Orangewood, very few are able to make the transition. And it's not because they're not smart, but it's so difficult to go to college when you don't have anywhere to go home for the holidays, when you don't have anybody to, help you pick out your bedding for your dorm room, when you don't have transportation to get to where you need to go. These kids don't necessarily have that. And probably once they turn 18, they probably have to work also. Many of them probably would have to work. I know that there is some support that Orangewood is able to offer these kids, but it's because it's so few of these kids that maybe a few every year that get to do this, that actually go on. They've been able to manage it. But wouldn't it be nice if all of these kids had those resources when they came home, so that they could go to school like my kids get to go to school for college? So yeah, it's there's a lot that these kids don't get, and we need to be empathetic towards these populations. And if you can contribute and make their lives better, like Adrienne has done so much to help these kids, anything that can be done to help these kids is appreciated. And these kids need so much. And Orangewood, I mean, they don't even have, dresses for dances and all of that stuff that's so fun when you're in high school. So like if you have, a prom dress that your daughter's not using, take it over there and give it to them, because somebody would love to have it, I'm sure. It is always great talking about the marvelous things that you do, Adrienne. I think I've probably learned more about philanthropy from you than anybody, because you have your hand in every cookie jar of marginalized young people in Orange County. And I am so lucky that I have had basically a grand tour of all of it with you over the past few years. I've really become a lot more involved in the things that you do, because they're also of great interest to me. I love having you here. Thank you for coming. And we will have you back for a panel with Mara James. And Mara James is another mental health care advocate for children. And that'll be a fun episode as well. So we will see you then, Adrienne, and we will see you next time Hashtag Blaze It Forward is a campaign my family started in 2018 after our son Blaze was murdered. Hashtag Blaze It Forward provides the inspiration to thousands of people to repair the world with intentional acts of kindness. If you would like to learn more about Blaze and how you can make a difference, check out www.blazebernstein.org or join our Facebook group at Hashtag Blaze It Forward. You can also check out my website for this podcast at www.PeppTalksWithJeanne.com. There you can follow along with my podcasting adventures and learn more about my fascinating guests and their passion projects. I would like to thank all of the volunteers who help make my philanthropic endeavors a reality. Today, that includes my producer, Eli Moskowitz, all of the volunteer crew members who join us, and a special thank you to my son, Jay Bernstein, for the original theme song you hear at the beginning and ending of each show. This has been another episode of Pep Talks with Jeanne. Until next time, keep on making this world a better place.